Neighborhood's right there, and then on this side we have the coast. The smell here is amazing, like the smell of pine, but then there's also the sea breeze. So we're gonna travel along this little path here towards the little town, towards the gym, and I'll be yapping along the way about the three most important things that I learned this past year during my travels in the very stressful Asia. I just arrived in Montenegro here, and let me tell you, this place is so much better. Oh, actually, it doesn't get any better than this. It's so much better than Asia. I literally carry around this coconut oil bottle with me everywhere just to somewhat avoid seed oils. But man, it gets rough. I'll tell you that. It gets rough there. Except for Japan. Japan is great, but Japan is Europe, not Asia. And yeah, that's probably why they're flooding it with engineers and scholars and all kinds of diversity these days. It's unfortunate, but we focus on our own and not on the craziness of the world, because you know, you can't do much about that if you're nobody and if you're not at your best. Wow, look at that. So I have been lifting for well over a decade, so to be honest, I'm pretty slow when it comes to learning stuff, but I have learned, you know, a few things along the way, and especially this last year, like I said, I learned a lot. If I had known these things, I would probably have had this physique like in half the time that it took me. So let's get into those, and you'll probably benefit from that. So what I've found is that to get the most gains the fastest, you should train with as much frequency as you can recover from. I lowered the volume and I upped the frequency, and that in turn helped me push the weight up. Now, I'm not saying that you should completely drop the volume at all or train like one of those high intensity training guys that do like 3 reps to failure per week. You know, we're based in reality, just like you need every macronutrient. Good amount of carbs, you need a little bit of saturated fat, you need adequate protein, and so too do you need in training good bit of volume, you need intensity, you need form, you need frequency. So it's, you know, it's a balance, and the art is finding the right dose for recovery and progress. Another thing Joel Kellett said was get the most out of the least amount of weight.
Trying to find ways to get the most out of the least amount of weight.
Sure, I mean, yeah, efficiency does matter a lot, and the form is absolutely crucial, naturally. But I thought to myself, like, at a certain point, like, why not get the most out of the most amount of weights? You know, that you can safely recover from. Getting the most out of the least amount of weights is like building a campfire, using little twigs to, you know, get it going, instead of using a big log from time to time to have that base and actually stimulate your strength going up. A lot of guys go to the gym twice a week, but then they train a muscle only once a week. For example, they'll have like a push-pull, that's twice a week, or they'll have an upper-lower. It's not enough to grow. I mean, if you're a newbie, if you're a beginner, you can do anything. Or if you're on steroids, you can literally sit on a couch. But if you are intermediate to advanced, and or even when you're a beginner, but you want to gain as fast as possible, I would say train as much as you can recover from. So I had been doing a 3-day bro split on recommendations of Joel Kellett.
You don't have to do it. You don't have to take my advice. Take it with a grain of salt.
Well, it's not his recommendation, but that's what he does. And for him, it works, all right? That's why there's so much nuance. But let's stick on topic here. This can go very deep and it's very layered. People that say lifting is easy are full of shit. Oh my god, my shoulder is burning like crazy. Give me a break. Switch arm. Man, I have a hard time soaking up the scenery and talking to you. Maybe I should just sit down. This is really nice, but it's really hard to think. For some reason, I said this before in my other video, my brain goes kind of numb when I'm out in nature. Yeah. Let's see, maybe I can sit here. Maybe there's a little special spot here where I can chill. I walked way too far. Sure is pretty though. Wow. That is Albania. What can I see behind this? Oh, that is certain death. That's a weird little hill right here. Don't want to go down there. Alright, just gonna walk down here. Hopefully they have an ice cold Coca-Cola so I can replenish before I starve.
I need a yummy treat every single hour if I don't feel good.
Alright, no more detours. It's a metaphor for life. There we go. Alright, let me just open my notes. I do have notes. The second insight that I gained is how to structure that frequency. So I went with the Joel Kellett 3-day high volume bro split I've done that for like 5 years. And switching to a full body split was for me an absolute game changer. It literally allowed me to hit every muscle 3 to even 4 times a week. And it's still very flexible, and that's what I like about it. Life gets messy sometimes, and I can just shift that full body split into an upper lower, or even a push pull, which that's just the beauty of it. It's very flexible, and the key is the same: maximizing frequency while staying recovered. So that's what I really like. That's what I really like about it. Here's something to remember though. Training fads, diet fads everywhere, they always come and go. 1 year it's full body, the next it's the bro split, then it's high volume, then it's high intensity, low volume. There's a lot of noise. There's so many freaking information on how to build muscle, and fitness industry is going absolutely nuts with optimization and science-based and all that type of shit. But there is a right way and a wrong way to do things. Building an aesthetic physique can be likened to building a house. So for example, if you look at the Greco-Roman concrete, that concrete is super high quality, and some of the buildings from that era, some over 1,000 years old, are still standing, and the concrete gets stronger over time, which is absolutely insane compared to modern concrete. So there is a right way and a wrong way to do things. There is an optimal way. And in that sense, I really like the optimal bros, the optimal trends that are going now, because they are very peaty. They're very in alignment with the bioenergetic view on things, because humans build tools to advance, to progress, to evolve. So why not use those? Of course, people always go too far, and there's always fads and trends. But in general, I really like using tools to further enhance the human capacity for evolution. There's a lot of words I'm using that whatever, but you get my drift. The foundations don't change, and that's what bioenergetics is all about, and that's what Dr. Pete gave us, sort of like a blueprint or a framework to view life and health and everything concerning biological energy to build upon and even to expand upon, because it's never a closed book. But the pattern and the foundation of it, the fundamentals, they remain the same. Moving on to insight number 3, and I experienced this the hard way this year. As I'm also getting older, it's over for me. But on a serious note, like when you're young and you're 18, 20, whatever, you're full of protective hormones. At least you should. 20 is the new 50, right, for Zoomers. But in general, when you're young, you have a lot of capacity to deal with stressors of the environment. But as you age a little bit, it becomes a bit more and more difficult to recover from the stressors of the environment. And I learned that in Asia the hard way. I was traveling with my coconut oil everywhere to somewhat mitigate the amount of seed oils that is in all the foods everywhere. It's just absolutely insane. And so the environment, people still underestimate this, your environment and the habits within that, which I like to call your domain, because that makes sense and it sounds cool. So training doesn't exist in isolation. The food you eat, the light you get, the sleep, the stress you carry, the nourishment, all of it sets the stage. And your domain is basically the environment you build, your territory, the space you shape, and the routines you structure. And those routines should be structured to align as much with your goals as possible. So if that is muscular hypertrophy, getting big ass muscles, then everything should be structured around that. And most of your stress should come in the gym, should be from the gym, and not from, if you work 50 hours a week and you eat garbage, you lack nutrition, poor sleep, and you're basically living under constant stress, you can't expect to unlock your higher potential. If your environment supports recovery, you grow. And if it doesn't, you stall. It's that simple. And you don't really stall, you degenerate. Because as long as we age, you degenerate. And some people will say, oh, fitness is simple. Bodybuilding is simple. But it's really not. Not in this current environment. If it was that simple, everyone would look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not simple. It's actually quite complicated. There's so many factors and nuance. Now, I know it's easier to sell if I just said to you, hey, it's freaking simple. Just do these 3 things, right? And you do have to bring it a little bit in such a way, because else it just kind of feels like, especially if you're a beginner, it kind of feels like, oh my God, this feels like impossible, right? But there are systems that simplify it. And they give you structure, they give you a framework, and they teach you how to implement that framework into your specific circumstances. Because that's the problem most people have. All the information is out there. It's too much information, too much bullshit as well. But even if you have access to the right information, even if you have that knowledge, it still requires a great deal of experience and insight to implement that into your specific circumstances. And that's what I'm kind of doing here, is I'm building a system that allows you to implement that into your life instead of having to sit through hundreds of hours of podcasts with Danny Roddy and Georgi Dinkov and Dr. Pete, which I really like, but not everyone has that time or that passion for that, or read through thousands of articles just to sort of understand the bioenergetic framework. So instead, I'd rather create a system for retards like myself and like you. 99% of people are retarded. And that's a product of your environment. You're an extension of your environment, and the environment is an extension of you. But I'm building this system so that you can literally follow this structure, this framework from A to Z, and along the path through experience you gain the insight in what actually transpired there. And I think that's the best way to learn anyway. Just got stung by something. That's itchy as frick. So let's stick on topic here. The environment. One thing that makes it harder is constant travel. The thing you need is a base that allows you to create a routine and structure aligned with your goals. And so if you have something like that, then you must understand that you're pretty blessed right there. If you have a base where you can structure towards your goals, that is fantastic. Some people don't have that. To sum it up, those are 3 of some of the most important insights I gained this past year. Train with as much frequency as you can recover from. Use a split that makes that possible. And align your environment with your higher goals so you can actually recover and grow. Now, there's layers to this, and we can go into detail, but I just wanted to get this video out there. All of these 3 things sit in what I call the domain layer. So if you want the bigger picture, one that'll help you attain the physique you are meant to have, then I'm working on a fat loss manual. This isn't about cardio or stress or extreme dieting. Fat loss should be a side effect of vitality. When your metabolism runs and your domain supports it, the fat comes off naturally. The link is in the description. Sign up with your email and you'll be the first to get it. I'll never spam you. I'll only email you whenever I release something valuable. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you next week. We're finally here in Europe. Subscribe, and leave a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts on what you're struggling with when it comes to bodybuilding, being healthy, fat loss. Cheers.